You're listening to episode 107 of the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman. On today's podcast, we are joined by Ben Atkinson, who you might know better as Ben Action Horses, and he's also got a business called Atkinson Action Horses. So hi, Ben, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, brilliant. Thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be asked.
I'm very excited about this because if you have followed Ben on Instagram or seen his Facebook page, you will have seen all the amazing things that he has trained his horses to do, and I can't wait to talk about it. So can you tell us a bit about what you do, how you got started, and your business now? There's a lot of stuff there, but just go for it.
Okay, so what I would say I do is really I'm a horse trainer. I'm a horse trainer. That's the sort of bread and butter. That's the meat and bones of everything that we do. And then the film work and the entertainment and that kind of thing is really something that is done that we enjoy, but that's something that funds a life of being able to train horses.
Okay.
So we prepare horses for film and television. So we've had horses working on BBC's big Poldark production. We did ITV's Victoria. We've had horses on Peaky Blinders, horses on The English Game, which just came out on Netflix. All sort of things like that. So horses and carriages, be that stunt stuff or that actors or dressing horses, all sorts of things like that. And then alongside that, horses for many different live events. It could be, just two horses stood outside of a building in London for, the launch of a fashion shoot or something. Or it can be taking sort of 25 horses to Hoys to perform at the NEC and put on either a big production that's just to show off the horses or a storyline sort of thing. So it's a world full of horses and full of variety and adventure, really.
It's really diverse, isn't it? So when you go to places like Hoys, you do sort of the demonstrations and things there, don't you?
Yeah.
And then obviously the rest of the time, do you spend obviously training horses for specific things, or do you also run clinics teaching people what your kind of skills and that sort of thing?
So I'm doing more teaching now. Teaching is something that I've been hesitant to get into because I'm only 26. Okay. And so I've always been a little bit, when people have asked me to teach in the past and things, I've always been a bit hesitant because it's like, who do you think you are, kid? Like, what right do you have? How have you got enough life? That's probably growing up, like in our family, there's myself, my father, and my grandfather, all still work horses together. Grandfather's 92.
Wow.
And yeah, still working horses, still breaking them in. So it's always been this kind of, the older you get, the better of a horseman you are. So I've only just really started doing teaching in clinic, but it's something I really enjoy because I really, truly enjoy being able to spread that knowledge. Because like you say, so for example, if we're doing a show at Hoys or the Great Yorkshire or anywhere, they're like little moments of sort of your little moments of glory, your little sparks in amongst the training, and you'll work towards those things. But you wouldn't train. For example, if a show asks something specific, or if a film asks something specific, then you would train in that towards that goal. You'd train towards that thing. But generally, you're just trying to get the best out of the horses and then use your own creative sort of flair and see how that horse's personality and stuff works. And as you go along, enhance that. And as we've been doing that, we come across so many more situations and so many more personalities of horses and then environments for those horses to be in. And I think that's what's made me now feel like I'm going to start to enjoy teaching more and put myself out to teach more, because it's a collective knowledge that other people simply haven't had the chance to acquire. Because normal people have a wife or a husband and children and a job, and my job is to be with the horses and to get the best out of those horses every single day, or the best that those horses can offer you on that day.
But I know what you're saying about being 26, but I think it's very fair to say that your experience and your form in this area makes you a perfect teacher, because you've lived it and been there, done it, got the t-shirt, been jumped over, etc., etc. So I wouldn't worry about that.
We've had lots of fun, and I would say that so even even my career performing, I started riding as as a tiny baby. I think I won my first rosette in a lead rein showing fast at 22 months old.
Wow.
And promptly, upon being given the rosette, took off my jodhpur boot and gave it to the judge and declared that I had new boots, because I was just so small. But my family's entirely horse mad. Then by the time I was 4 years old, my Shetland was shod all round, clipped, and fed on racehorse feeds and oats. I used to go stubbling with my dad and his friends when they were taking out their show jumpers. So life's always been chaos. The Shetland had a Western saddle. Dad got the Shetland trained to go with cap guns, so that I could have the Shetland in a halter and reins and a Western saddle in the garden. And I could run around being a cowboy, firing guns, jump on the pony, gallop it around the garden, jump off. So it really has been the ideal sort of introduction to horses. And then I show jumped for a while and stuff. But by the time that I was 11, I was performing standing on my two. I went to watch Lorenzo and was inspired, and I'm still inspired every time I see him. And I had two white jumping ponies. So two white jumping ponies were dragged out and given the shock of their lives as I decided I was going to start standing on them. And I was 11 years old when I did my first show on them like that. So even with that, I'm 15 years into performing with stunt horses, which is.
Your family weren't stunt riders; they were more into, I'm saying, more traditional sports. So when they first saw that you were standing on your jumping,
they weren't originally. We weren't even horse people, really. We were horsemen. So my grandfather left school at 12 years old to start ploughing on the land with horses.
Okay.
And had worked with horses all his life with him and his brothers. But my father was a dairy farmer. No, there were dairy farmers and arable farmers.
Oh, wow.
And had show jumping horses for fun, and also helped other people with horses, because the family have always been good with horses, so we'd help other people with problem horses and such. But then when my dad met my mum, she wasn't a farming person at all, and so she wasn't attached to that farming stigma of, your dad had dairy cows, so you've got to have dairy cows. So she convinced my dad to sell all the cows and the machinery and go into horses. And so we had the show jumpers and the riding school, and the riding school horses were asked if we could, some people that came for lessons asked if they could hire those riding school horses to be part of a battle reenactment. So we dragged all Dad's friends around and stuff. I say we, this is the royal we. I think I'm 3 years old at this time. And they got the horses trained to go and do this battle reenactment by making flags out of silage wrap from the bales and drums out of buckets and all sorts, and putting bonfires out to make sure they would be bomb-proof enough for it and do a good job. And they did such a good job that someone there said, well, I make films for museums, could I hire those same horses to come and be part of this film? And so it sort of snowballed from there, really.
I love that. So when you stood on your jumping ponies, it was just sort of a, oh yeah, this is happening now moment.
Yeah, well, Dad's always much more worked in the filming side of things. So I have given my dad's always sort of trusted my horsemanship. My poor mother is the long-suffering one. That I feel, she says she loves me, but I feel I make her very tired. That's the only sort of thing. She says the worst thing, she hates watching me do under the belly, which is where we set the horse off on the gallop on a straight line, and you climb down the near side of the horse, in between the legs, in between the fore and hind legs, and then up the other side and back into the saddle. And she doesn't like watching that. She's much happier now I'm a Liberty performer.
I can understand why that would get a mother's heart going a little bit quicker. But yeah, I can definitely understand that. Your poor mum.
Yeah, well, and my grandparents won't even come and watch me. They're beyond proud, and they adore it. My grandfather's come to watch me once, but my grandmother and my other grandfather have chosen, as of yet, to be very proud and watch the videos when I'm sat with them after the show, so that they know that I'm safe.
Oh, yes. I can understand that, because a lot of the things that you do are heart in the mouth, gasping as you watch, but that's kind of half the point, I guess.
Well, they do look. So yes and no. Yes and no. So if you were to come straight out of the house, having never done any of those things before, jump on the horse and go for it, you'd most likely get seriously hurt
Yeah.
and possibly injure or scare the horse as well. So you have to imagine, like, take under the belly, for example, you train to make sure that you're actually fit enough to do it on the animal first. So we actually do a lot of gym training and like, you know, bouldering, like rock climbing, but when you're not roped up, to work on grip strength and dexterity and awareness. And then you're doing it first on what we call a barrel horse. So that's actually just a big, you know, big metal barrel on stilts that's attached to the floor. We have the trick saddle on that, so you learn the maneuvers on there so that you're not going to annoy your horse, and you can learn all your handholds. And then you'd go on to what I call, like, you know, a level 1 horse. Like, we have a brilliant horse, he's called Sovereign. He's built like the side of a barn door, and he's big and white and steady. And if you can get it to canter, you've done very well. So we'd start on him, and you'd have someone holding you, and you do it on him at standstill. And then you'd be led round on a 20-meter circle, walk and trot. Then when you could do it like that, then you'd go onto the lunge, walk, trot, canter. And then, and only then, when you were knocking it out at canter on the lunge comfortably, would you move to doing something like that on a straight line. And even then, you wouldn't be learning under the belly until you'd learned everything else. So you're already comfortable with the idea of moving yourself around the horse. So people always see, whether it be Liberty or the stunts, I say, when you see what I put from a show reel, so if I'm in the big blue power jacket and we're doing a show, then what you're looking at is advanced algebra.
Yeah.
Don't forget that there's a 1 + 1.
Yeah.
And not one rider in that show and not one horse in the team ever started anywhere apart from 1 + 1.
No, that's a really, really good point. Because you say now it sounds like you've got quite a few different things going on, because you said about the stunt riding and about the Liberty work, and you do the film work as well. So have you got lots of different pockets of your business? Do you have different horses for different things, or do they all kind of mesh together and do different jobs, do the same jobs?
Yeah, me and my dad have a little bit of there is some sort of divide in that some horses are his and some are mine.
Okay.
And that never really matters unless we decide that we both want the same horse on the same day. But very much, we try and keep, so I love my job to the right. And I believe that animals too enjoy variety. I really, really do. Variety in life, not variety in their, I feel there needs to be consistency in their style of training and consistency in their behaviour and the way you expect them to act and that kind of thing. Otherwise, that's unfair. But variety in the work that they do. So Malik, who's one of my main horses, probably would say is my main horse. He's a Liberty horse. I've also used him for trick riding. He also he's a wonderful classical dressage horse, but he also drives carriages. So like I might be doing a classical dressage performance on him on the weekend, and then come Wednesday, he's on a film set pulling a coal cart. Or even like I'll use, say, one of my big Spanish beasts like Sebastian. Like he's again a wonderful Liberty horse, wonderful classical dressage horse, also a stunt horse. But I use him to harrow the school, and I really think he enjoys it. Because I think they need to be. I think people can become too precious. Is it that your horse is too precious to do that, or is it because they've not got the mental capacity to process those different movements and those different enrichments and not become overly panicked? I think the more wide and varied a horse's education is, the better the horse he is. But I would also put a caveat on that the driving thing, the reason everything drives, as I said, Grandad left school at 12 to plough horses on the land. So I was driving carriages at the sort of same age as I was rattling about on Shetland. We've always driven here as well.
I think as well, you often hear of horses, not often on the competition side of things, but going a bit stale because they get bored with the same work day in, day out. And I imagine you never have that problem because it's so diverse. Their brains must be always so active in a really positive way. They can't possibly get stale with so much going on.
No, the thing, like we are aware of it. The times that we get it worse, I imagine. So let's we're using Hoys as the show that we're going to talk about. So let's say we're at Hoys. You're doing 2 shows a day for a week, and there's three days of rehearsals before that. Now the rehearsals aren't for the horses. By the time you get to the rehearsals, they're for the lighting technician and the music people and the ground crew. And so that's not actually horse training time, that's repetition time. That's no different for the horses. In fact, I would say rehearsal days at the big events are harder on the horses than show days because they have to do it 2 or 3 times. But if you say that same horse has to come in and do that same act to the same lighting and the same music, they don't become stale so much. But if you've ever made the mistake of of practicing the dressage test you're actually going to do repeatedly on the horse that you're going to do it, you find that you get problems. And so we do get that a bit. And we try and be well aware of, like for myself with my Liberty team, got this team of 4 that I'm training at the moment. I'll think, right, well, I worked you all as a team for 2 days in a row from the floor on Monday and Tuesday. So I'll work you all individually on Wednesday. On Thursday, I'll Roman ride you at Liberty, stand on you at Liberty, which is what I mean by Roman riding, standing on horses. I'll Roman ride them at Liberty, and then maybe I'll hack them all out individually or in their pairs on the next stage. Very conscious of what we do, because you can't train aimlessly and expect to get good things. There's a reason when you're in school as a child, you have English on the set, English 3 times a week, science 3 times a week. You have those lessons plopped out. And that has to be the same for the horses. So yes, variety is brilliant, but don't be so in love with variety that you never school your horse and they're going to upset you.
No, that makes perfect sense. So how many horses do you have? Because it sounds like they do lots of jobs. One horse won't just be for just Liberty work or just this or just that. So how many do you have?
Some are.
Okay.
You get some very special creatures that have wonderfully complex and beautiful minds, and they sometimes only have 1 or 2 jobs because they like that. That's how their brains work. But we've got about it won't be over 55. No, it won't be under 55, but it won't be over 60 at the moment. We're not overly full, so that's how I can gauge that. Wow. Me and Dad are really bad. We'll just get horse. We sort of collect them, and then we sort of have this game where we have to try and rearrange the yard so we can hide them so Mum doesn't know that they're coming. But then so like you'll put all the bay ones in one field so that when you buy a new bay one, you can put it in with the other bay ones.
People will be listening to this going, that's such a good idea.
Yeah, it's a great idea. But it's because we just can't say no. But we have very different taste in horses. I like my Iberian horses. I like quite sharp horses. And I like boys, and my dad likes mares. So Dad likes cobs and mares, and I like sharp Spanish boys.
Fair enough.
We work a bit different. But yeah, we have all sorts. I think our biggest horse we have in at the moment, he'll be, well, biggest depends on what you like. We've got things up to sort of in the 18 hand range, but then we've also got a Lithuanian. I was told it's a Lithuanian meat horse. I got told that it was bred for meat out there, but honestly, you could stand 3 hunters side by side and it wouldn't be as wide as this creature. It's the biggest horse I've ever seen. It's an absolute tank. And then the smallest thing that we have is a real dainty miniature black and white Shetland, and I can stand over him and not touch him. Like he's tiny. So we have odds and sods and all sorts, everything in between, because you never know what you're gonna want, and we're attached to more. If a lot of times, especially when I say I like Iberian horses, people will come to me and they say that they, oh, my horse is bred like this and my horse is bred like that. And all honesty, I don't mean to offend anyone, but I really couldn't care less. Like I would rather discuss especially with the climate as it is at the moment, I'd rather discuss which brand of toilet paper you prefer to the breeding of your horse, because it means absolutely nothing. I have horses that have one of my best rearing horses, better than my Spanish horses, is a Welsh deer.
Oh wow!
There's no phenomenal bloodlines whatsoever. No pageantry about him. He's just a brilliant horse. And then one of my best bred horses, that's passport would put zeros on its price tag. He's great, but he skips, and not anyone could ride him, and he's crap on one rein. And it's you're like just. Sorry, a bit of a rant there, but I get this thing about people get so attached to their breeding, and do you think, well, like, would you look at David Beckham's kids and be like, oh yeah, they'll obviously be the next best footballer in the world?
No, it's a
And you're
really
like,
good point.
no, we don't do that to humans, but we do to horses.
That's a
And it
really good
baffles
point.
me.
I hadn't thought of it like that. But also, I think that their attitude. I mean, from what you've said, all the horses you've talked about, you've been really, you've talked about their brains more than their physical ability. Um, the way that they think or the way that they like the diversity. So I think that's a really,
Yeah.
really good point.
Well, I'm much more interested in a horse's brain than his body,
Mm.
because a horse with the right brain will overcome the limits of his body, and the same as people. I think
Mm.
um, there are people who are very, well gifted with themselves and fit and well with everything they've ever wanted, and they do nothing with it. And then there are other people who just by the chance of fate are born with things that are, physicality limiting, but then achieve more than 90% of the able-bodied population. And I know that's an extreme comparison, but when you start looking at horses, it's so much, give me the right brain and we
Mm.
can make anything from that. Like, that's really, if someone says, what do you look for when you start looking for your horses? And I'm looking for the brain. When we first start training them, so like if someone brings me a youngster, because I like to get I don't like breaking in loads of youngsters because it's hard and you have to do a very good job of it.
Yeah.
But I like to do my own because I like to make my own tools to work
Sure.
with.
Yeah.
And if I'm trying youngsters, I'll run them through basic liberty exercises, not to see how well they perform for me right there, because they might be that the horse that I choose is the one that actually did the worst work in that session. If you were just looking at it from the outside, but what I'm looking for is how they react, how their brains work, are they thinking, are they really engaging and wanting to be engaged, and then can you help them overcome a struggle? If you, for example, if you're asking a horse for one thing and he's really struggling to get there, can you, by changing your tactics, help him, and will he allow you to help him achieve those things? That's what I'm looking for when I'm looking for a horse.
That's really cool. So with obviously you've got a lot of horses, and they're obviously split between you and your dad. But do you have this amount because sometimes some of the jobs require quite a lot of horses, or do you have it because of the diversity within the range, or a bit of both?
All of the above,
Mm.
and because we never get rid of them.
Do you ever sell any on, or is that quite a rare thing?
The odd ones get sold if we think they're not happy and we think they'd be happier with the person that would like to buy them. You're not going to find my horses on Pre-Loved or Horsemart. If they get sold, it's because someone knows them. Like, someone I know has shown an interest, and I think, actually, yeah, like you would be happier
Yeah.
doing that than you are with us here. But generally they just stay here from the day we buy them to when they move on and not to another person.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That's so cool. So what, obviously you've done a lot of different exciting things, and the horses have done a lot of different exciting things. So what would you say your kind of best job or best work or best place that you've been, or all of the above, have been because of the job that you do and the horses that you've got?
I think we're really lucky because we get to travel all over with the work. I don't know if I would say it's the best job, as in it's the job where I did the best work on, because rather anticlimactically, if I was to say, where have I done my best work? Obviously, that's training here at home, because you have
Always the way.
everything that you want it to be.
Yeah.
But the job I probably had the most adventure, and looking back, I would say fun, though at the time I probably wasn't quite so convinced, was when I was 21, I was asked to go out and horsemaster. Now, horsemaster is the term that we use for someone who's in charge of all the horses on a film.
Okay.
So in the same way, directors, producers, cameraman, you're the horsemaster, you're in charge of the horses. And I was at 21, I was asked to go out to India and horsemaster a big Bollywood film.
Wow.
And that was somewhat of an adventure. So you can take horses into India, but you can't bring them back out because of the diseases and quarantine and stuff. So obviously, it was not an option that I was going to take anything. I wasn't going to. I was going to have to get horses out there. So we went out there, and for the first month, I had an Australian stunt coordinator working with me, and then a local prince from Rajasthan. And we went round and found these horses that we were going to use. So we had to find about 40 horses, but within those 40, there were to be 3 that were going to be the sort of lead horses for this film, because the horse was a character in the film. And so I got my three little grey mares, and because in India the mares are more prized than the others out there, and they were beautiful little dapple grey mares, Maweri, so they have the curved love heart ears.
Oh, wow.
And we had a month to train them. One had to become a stunt horse. One had to become quiet enough for the actor to ride, and the actors couldn't ride, so we had to teach the actors to ride.
Oh, wow.
And another one had to learn how to do all the liberty work and stuff. And it's worth mentioning that not one of them was a day over 4 years old, and they were all brilliant minds and brilliant horses, but there was a lot of work to do. So that was an adventure, because we drove around all over. I mean, you'd pull up somewhere and you'd be 4 hours out of Mumbai, just thinking, where on earth are we? Some tin shack, and then they'd drag out this wonderful horse, and you sort of ride them on ground that all of us would deem just you'd never ride horses in the places where we had to out there to try them. And then we ended up on this wonderful ranch sort of in the mountains outside Mumbai to train these horses, and that was wonderful. That was completely, there was not really any internet there wasn't any distractions. It was just me and the horses. So that was really, really wonderful. And then we were filming out there. So that's probably the biggest adventure that I've had with the horses so far. I mean, we've been all over. I've been to Dubai 3 times training horses, working with different Arabians and Andalusians and Frisians and stuff out there.
Wow.
It's such a wonderful job, because it opens so many doors. And honestly, I'm still baffled every time. I just think it's ridiculous. I'm just a little kid from Yorkshire who plays with horses in an old cowshed that we put some sand down in. My yard's not posh. I'm not sandstone and gravel. No way. It used to be a dairy farm. But it's
so exciting though. I mean, I suppose as well, because of the diversity in what you do, when you get an email, you get a phone call, you just don't know where it's going to lead. I mean, going to India and sourcing horses for a big Bollywood production, or training horses in Dubai, or going to Hoys, it's so diverse, isn't it? For you and the horses.
Oh, you never know. The worst one is if someone in the family gets a phone call, and then we're all watching them have this phone call, and they're like, yeah, absolutely, yeah, it's all going to be fine. Yeah, we can do that. Then they hang up, and then they're really quiet, and you're like, oh my goodness, what on earth have we got to train? I mean, we've had to train horses to jump through hoops, like through paper, through paper hoops for films and things before. One of the hardest things actually I had to train a horse to do, and this sounds so, to anybody else who doesn't know horses, they wouldn't get it, but it was a post-battle scene on an ITV drama. And this horse had to be a dead horse, so I had to lay down.
Okay.
And that was my briefing. They were like, oh, this is where he's going to be. Now, what they didn't say was that it had to be laying down with his bum uphill, his head downhill, and they wanted its muzzle in a running stream.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And all that was going on while a giant fan blew fake snow over him. And we did it. We got it done.
Wow.
We had to have one of our girls dressed up as a boy for it to be a soldier on it, and she had to lay with her hand in the water, like, so you couldn't see it cupping his nose. And that was Malik that had to do that, because when Malik's great, he's actually a pain. He's not everyone says they want him, but I'm saying if you took him, you bring him back, like, definitely causes chaos. His favorite game is to undo everybody else's stable doors, so you can imagine what sort of like madness that causes. But when we have situations like that where you're like, no horse I can imagine would do that, he will.
No, that's quite a big ask.
Yeah, that one was pretty big. I'm trying to think, all sorts of just, it's the things that sound so light. One of the hardest things you have to do on a lot of films is if you're doing a chase scene and they say, oh yeah, but then you'll jump the gate and the horse knocks it and breaks the top rail. And you're like, that's so different. Like those little things are the niggly hard bits. The big movements, can that horse gallop up onto that hill on its own and then stand there and rear? Yeah, absolutely. No bother. Like that type of thing, just not a problem. But it's the tiny things that's where the intricacies, that's where it gets difficult.
Going against their nature, I guess, as well a little bit, isn't it? As in, putting your muzzle in a stream is not something that's a normal horse would do.
No.
It in their skill set, really. I mean, obviously,
and that's definitely one of those things where you say to them, look, we'll put him in position, and then you've got like whatever X amount of time, and when he gets up, he gets up. No, like if you want to get this, you got to get it now. There's no coming back to this, because it's also, you have to play fair, because they'll like say the horses, they're not stupid. No. They're not going to do things that they don't like. So that's the other thing, is trying to, on my training them, you have to get the horse to want to win the game. And by game, the game could be learning to bow, the game could be learning to pier, but you have to make it appealing. They've got to want what you want. They've got to want it themselves, because otherwise you get a horse that's sour in its work.
Very much the carrot approach, not the stick, the reward, not the punishment for not doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, I would even go more beyond. I wouldn't say that we work with negative or positive reinforcement in either way. It's just logical and explanation. So a lot of people say to us, do you do natural horsemanship? Do you do this? Do you do that? And we always have this sort of joke within the family, which is, no, we do honest, logical Yorkshire horsemanship. Like a horse is a prey animal. All he wants is to be left alone. That's it. He just wants an easy life. He wants to preferably not to be eaten, and to eat grass and make poo. And apart from that, everything else is neither here nor there. Mm. And so often, if you can explain to them what you'd like them to do, they're more than happy to. When you get, so I find when we're training horses, it can be for classical dressage or for liberty. If the horse is giving you grief, it's because it's either uncomfortable or doesn't understand. Yeah, because if the horse is not in any discomfort and it understands what you want to do, it will do it. But you just have to make sure you make it clear enough. And now, so often you'll see this sort of doubles back into a lot of my training philosophies. So when I see people schooling horses and they're just asking for, it's not even clear what they're asking for, and the horse is getting more distressed, and you can see them just giving the same aids or the same cues with more and more pressure. Mm. Then you think, well, how would that work? When you were at school and you didn't understand things. So I'm really, really, really dyslexic. And so my horse training philosophies were built from when I was in school, and the teacher would say, does everybody in the class get it? And I would say no, because you used to feel awful and ashamed and frustrated that everybody else could learn that same information in that same way. They were all the same, you were different. You didn't get it. And that's the same with the horse. Just because you trained your last horse or your friend's horse learned from doing those touches and those aids in that order and in that way over that pole or whatever, because it could be training anything, doesn't mean it's going to work for this new horse. And even if it works for this new horse yesterday, doesn't mean it's going to work today.
No.
So it's just always keeping the mind open. If you feel your frustration rising, you've already lost, because you've already given up to primal emotions. And that's something, a horse has primal emotions, but your job as the trainer or the rider is to offer intellectual and logical approaches to overcome and deal with that more primal energy.
That's a really, really good point. So another side of your job is obviously that you are a social media influencer. You have got a following of 192,000 on Instagram and over 51,000 on Facebook, which is amazing. But how did that come about for you? Like, did you make a conscious effort to build this following, or was it a byproduct of your work? How did that happen?
Well, if anyone's big into Instagram will probably know my friend Lauren Allport, Lauren Eddie's Gun on Instagram. She's been in the game a lot longer than I have, and now me and her used to hang out when we were younger, about stuff. We were 16, 17. And she came down to mine to play with some ponies, and I shoved the odd YouTube video on by then. And she was distraught that I didn't have a professional Facebook page. And I was like, why? I'm not bothered. She was like, you need a like page. You're doing such cool stuff. So she made that for me. so Lauren Eddie's Gun on Instagram is actually who I have to thank for the Facebook page. She made that one for me, and I just sort of kept updating it along the years. And the Instagram again was from a friend, Cat Pickering Horses on Instagram. Cat Pickering, who rides with me. And I think it was in 2016. She was like, "You need an Instagram." And I was like, "Oh, okay then, cool." I think it's because my friends had Instagram. It never started out as I want to be a. I know this must be frustrating for people, but I think the worst way to try and gain a following is to want to gain a following. So the moment I'm going red talking about this. I think it's crazy that people are interested in watching me anyway. But it's. I find that people want to be on there for fun. Why do I go on Instagram? And I'm not talking about me posting. I'm talking about me sat there scrolling on a night when I've got X Factor on in the background and I'm not really watching it.
Yes.
You want something to make you smile.
Yeah.
You want something that's going to bring a little bit of interest into that part of the day, or you don't want to be sold something.
No.
You don't always want to buy something. You don't always want to be taught something or have someone's views forced down your throat. So I think the reason I hope, and this is my thinking, obviously I'm not one of the people that follows my pages, I'm the guy that posts on my pages. But I think the reason people have enjoyed it is because I've always just posted my training. It's, for me, my page is about my horses. I'm there also, but only in the way that when you don't walk your dog, the walks for the dog, you're just kind of there. Like, I'm just there. I'm the way of celebrating these guys and their achievements and what they're doing, and hopefully inspiring people to show that, so I've only paid for 3 Liberty lessons in my life.
Wow.
And 2 of them were on professional clinics with Organised Equestrian with Frederick Pignon. And the other was a bit of a sympathy lesson from a wonderful lady called Sophia, who was a friend's wife, that she gave me before a show I was going to do because I was nervous. But looking back on it now, the reason I say sympathy lesson was because it was 2 days before the show. If there was anything wrong, there was no way she could have helped me at that point. But the point I'm making is just, you don't need all the bells and whistles to do it.
No. Your accounts are beautiful and really inspiring, and they are exactly that. They are, when you scroll through, you're seeing horses. I've completely forgotten the term. When they kind of jump in the air and kick their back legs. I know it's
the capriole.
That's it. Because they do that at the Spanish riding school, don't they? I went
Yes.
to the NEC when I was much, much younger, and I remember them doing that. It's a fighting move, isn't it?
Yeah. That's designed for, it's your last ditch hope. So all your classical dressage, all your dressage actually comes from the battlefield, because the point is that you need to be able to move your horse around as well as you can while you're fighting. And the capriole is for if you get surrounded on a horse on a medieval battlefield, you're not in a very good position. You're actually on a really big target. And what the capriole is used for is that when you get surrounded, the horse leaps in the air and kicks out, and it clears you enough space to land and get momentum to gallop away. So it's something that's actually quite brutal, but then modern artistry has made it into something very beautiful. And it's still a very beautiful way of showcasing the horses, I think, showing their power.
Absolutely. And I know that if you scroll through, I know we'll obviously give your contacts at the end, but if people aren't following you already, go and follow him. But look at what's going on the account, because you do see the diversity in the types of horses and the kind of work they do. It's really interesting. As you say, it is entertaining. It is not lighthearted in a kind of that's not the right way of saying it, but it's not, you know, you can look at it and just appreciate it for what it is without having to sort of think deep and meaningfully about it. And I think especially at the
Yeah,
moment, it's something we all need, to just have a bit of light relief and look at some beautiful horses enjoying their work.
and that's what I always try with it as well. Like, so, like I will sometimes get a bit, you know, I'll write a bit, and sometimes that can get a bit lengthy. But the point is, you don't have to actually read that stuff. Just look
No.
at the horses. You know?
Yeah,
Just
and
enjoy the horses. That's what it's there for.
absolutely, and it's the images and the videos that stop people scrolling. And you know, they're the things that you get drawn in to look at. If you've got a weak image or a weak video, you probably are just going to scroll on by. So I think that, and it's a really nice escapism at the moment, I think, as well, to see horses, you know, doing things, doing really good work, doing really interesting things as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I think you have to be interested in what you're training with your horses all the time. I think I might have already said that on this, but it's that if you think about what you're meant to be working with your horse and it bores you, then it's definitely going to bore the horse, because you're not going to attack it with any enthusiasm or flair, or you're not going to come into it with that energy. And I think you can feel that through as well. If anyone was trying to build their social media pages or anything up at the moment, if you're sat there going, oh, I need to post, like, you might notice that sometimes I can even go a week without posting anything on my pages sometimes, and it's because I've not had anything that's really given me that spark of wanting to. Because if you don't want to post it, no one else wants to see it. So like, remember that if you're not excited about what you're posting and what you're giving out to the world, and I would go even further than that with just posting stuff on Instagram and Facebook. Put stuff out into the world, put energies, put conversations, put images, be the person in the world that you want everybody else in the world to be. Put out what you want back.
I love that. I mean, that's a drop the mic moment, definitely. I love that. But it is so true. It's so true. I think we can lose sight of that sometimes. So that's a really good point. With your pretty huge social media following, have you had any opportunities come to you as a consequence of having the following? I know you work with a number of sponsors, but did they come to you for your work with the horses, or the size of your following, or a combination of the two? Have you had anything directly from your social media following?
Oh, of course, all sorts. I would say that I hope that my brilliant, and I love my sponsorship with Ariat, and they're fantastic. I hope they like what I do with my horses, but I strongly suspect it's because of the social media following.
It's a combination. I think that if they didn't,
it must be a combination. But you do definitely find things like that. I think sometimes some shows will contact us because they like the idea of performing with us, because they get so much free advertisement. Because if I say that I'm going there, then that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
To be on board and stuff. The India job was fully through social media, from what they'd seen, and the times I've worked in Dubai have been through social media. So I think that is something that if you're working in the equine space, definitely. So, for example, if you sent me an email asking for a job, the first thing I'm going to do is look you up on social.
Yeah.
Not only to make sure that you're not just some, Mahiki Mondays, tequila swigging waster, but also to sort of see. I think social media is so great these days, especially in the equine world, because you can send me a CV saying I worked here for this many months, and I worked there, and I worked with this person and that person. Also, name dropping people you've worked with, don't work with me. I'm not a big fan of that. But if you send me videos and pictures of you doing things, or I can look on your social media and see you riding beautifully, or see you maybe even riding a horse which is a challenging horse, but riding it in a very understanding and manageable way, then that's worth a lot more.
No, definitely. So thinking about obviously the size of your following as well, what highs and lows have you had as a consequence of that? I mean, I assume that the India job would definitely be a high.
Oh yeah, work is a high. How people supported me when I had my surgery. I had colic surgery last year. I know you just wouldn't expect. Yeah, I'm the only person that I know that's probably had colic surgery as well. But when I was off after that, I wasn't allowed off the sofa for 3 months. Wasn't allowed to pick the I was like, because they split me open from the bottom of my ribs to sort of the top of my belt line.
Oh,
So I just really couldn't move. And my social media following were amazing then. Like when they were so lovely to me, so many wonderful messages. That was great. I mean, I would also say to anyone, if you want to be involved in social media and you're going to be doing that kind of thing, of course, I've got the hate mail. I've had a genuine, like, not genuine death threats, but death threats, people telling me they hope I fall off and die and break my neck,
Jesus.
all that kind of thing. But that's because some people somewhere, that's how they're, I don't know, maybe that makes them feel better. But that's part of it, I would say. If you want to have a following of, like I have on Instagram, not everyone is going to be nice to you. And it's hard as well, because I think sometimes people get on social media trying to keep that wider, broad spectrum. You know, you get videos that you didn't look for forced on you. And so there are people that, you know, are a fan of what we do and have to see it, and so they voice their opinions. That's fine. Doesn't bother me. You just have to learn to, you know, don't let other people, you can never judge your own worth by what other people think about you, because no one really wants anyone worth more than themselves.
So, how did you feel the first time you received negativity online? Were you quite surprised?
No, people are awful. That's why I work with horses.
Fair enough. It's such an interesting one, isn't it? That you can get so much.
I went to high school. Everyone went to high school. You telling me that you went through high school without ever being bullied or having a name shouted at you or anything nasty like that? You know, like that's human nature. Like people are horrid. So you get ready for it, don't you? You just sort of go, oh, okay, that's a lovely opinion. Walk on by.
And is that exactly how you deal with it? You just kind of go, oh yeah, cheers, thanks a lot, next. As in moving.
Never message anybody back.
No.
Never. If anyone sends you hate mail, if you're listening to this, and you've just got a message from someone telling you all the reasons why they don't like you and why you're horrible, just block them. So what I do is I can't always do it all the time, but I do try and police my Instagram page a little bit. As much of, if people send, obviously Instagram and Facebook, if people send me abuse, I'll obviously block them. That's the first thing. And I'll just delete whatever they send. Goodbye. But I'll also do that if they're horrible to each other in the comments.
Yeah.
So like if you come onto my page and you start bullying someone else in the comments, you're getting blocked, because like, I know it sounds a bit silly, but like, you know, it's my page. You're in my house. And people speak nicely to people when they're in my house. So if you can't be civil, you're not allowed in. That's sort of how I stand on it. So I want it to be a positive place for people to come be inspired and lifted up and just enjoy horses. Now, if you want to go and know that there are horrible pages out there which actually dedicate themselves to their slander and sort of aggression, that videos, they'll get a video of someone, put it up, and then they all jump on it. They're all horrible. Go there. Don't come to my page, because my page is for people to be nice to each other. So that's something I try and do as well.
No, I love that. I was actually probably a couple of months ago now, I heard of a group that existed on Facebook that does exactly what you've just described. Who take pictures from the internet, from videos, and then they just rip professional riders apart. It just blew my mind.
What amuses me is that there's one person, and I'm not saying their name because they don't need any more airtime, but they have taken videos of me before and done full YouTube videos saying how horrible I am, and then like the next week taken another video off my channel and gone about how amazing I am.
Well, that's an interesting tactic.
Yeah, and you're like,
pick us up.
But when I look at things like that, I just think, sometimes I always try and be sympathetic, and with things like that, I think that's a person with a large following. They just need content, don't they? They just need content. They just need stuff to post. So yeah, if I can help them, cool. It really, really doesn't bother me. Go for it. Knock yourself out. I'm not doing it for your opinion. I'm riding those horses because it's what makes me happy. It's what makes me whole and complete. So yeah.
I think that anyone, any size of following, can take a huge amount from what you've just said. Actually, you don't exist for their entertainment. You are doing what you do because you love it.
Yeah, like if someone deleted Instagram, if Facebook and Instagram wiped off the face of the planet tomorrow, I would still be on my liberty horses.
Yeah.
And then I think then check yourself. you doing it because you want people to tell you you're great? Because you're in the wrong thing. You have to. There's all good kind of ladder of success, but you need to make sure your ladder's up against the right wall. Like that's why I said at the beginning of this, I was talking to you and I said we're horse trainers. Where that is the meat on the bone. We go filming because it pays for haylage and it pays for straw. We do shows because it pays the bills.
Yeah.
All of that. But we're horse trainers. That's what we love to do. That's why we're in this.
Yeah. So what tips would you give people? I think you've given loads of tips in the podcast, which is amazing. But are there any other tips you want to give anyone who's looking to grow their social media following or to become an influencer?
Be honest.
Yeah, obviously.
Be kind. Keep it short and sweet. Don't ramble on. And judge yourself like you're looking from the outside.
Yeah.
So ask yourself, why would anyone care? That sounds really awful, but you're posting something saying, this happened, why would it care? And think about how your post is going to look when it comes up on the social media. So if you just put it up you might have noticed if anyone looked at my Facebook and stuff, I'll separate words, I'll put things in bullet points. It's all done strategically to make it more appealing to the eye. You want people to be able to see clearly what you've written, and people want the information. So generally I'll put bullet points at the top and then more information on the see more underneath, because then if someone really is interested in great depth, they can take the time and they can read that. That's great. But you're going to lose your audience who don't care that much, who are just scrolling. If you try and get them to read 2 paragraphs before they'll give you a like on the picture. Give them something short and snappy, something great to look at, and then extra information, but don't make that extra information vital. Just make it something that's there for those that want. And don't be one of these people with 36 million hashtags. It doesn't work and it doesn't matter. And if you've noticed, if anyone goes on my page, I use 5. I use 5 hashtags and that's it. There's the Action Horses, Ariat Europe, Ariat Action Horses, and then Horses on Instagram and Equestrian. And that's it. Because if you're just throwing stuff into the wilderness with all those hashtags, when you think how many people actually follow the hashtag of bowing horse or trot, or do you know what I mean? Really. But if you look at your Equestrian and Horses on Instagram, you're looking at millions. So just bosh those 2 on and you could.
I think the thing is that there's like a hashtag maths idea where you put some lower ones, some higher ones. But I think that the real thing that I see quite a few people missing is the relevancy. So they've got the hashtags have got to be relevant. Hashtag love is, I think, the most used hashtag in the world ever. But if there's nothing connected to that in your post, for Christ's sake, don't use it.
I follow hashtag PF and I get so annoyed when I say things that aren't PF.
You're there for, is it? You're there to see.
I'm like, why is this here? That's your pony's jumping a lovely trot pole, but why have you made me see it?
Exactly.
And that's
relevancy. I'm all for relevancy.
Yeah, definitely. Think about what you'd want. Treat your audience how you treat yourself.
I love that. So can you tell us all the places where we can find you?
You can find me on Facebook, on my like page of Ben Atkinson. I think it's just Ben Atkinson. Let me just check. Yeah, I was Ben Atkinson, or on Instagram as Ben_action. Oh, no, it is not at all, is it? I've lost that now.
You are Ben Action Horses.
Handle. Ben Action Horses. That's it. Yeah, Ben_Action Horses. It's a godsend that I've managed to become like some kind of. This is why I would not class myself as an influencer.
You definitely are an influencer. I mean, you absolutely definitely are. But I think from everything you've said, that is very much secondary. As in, it's a positive side effect of actually the work you do and how interesting the work you do is, and the diversity and your training techniques. And also, I know anyone listening to this is just going to be wowed by what a thoroughly lovely chap you are, and the way you've spoken about your horses is so lovely. I imagine that's what's helped you grow the following, rather than going out there deliberately putting out content for the sole aim of being an influencer.
I hope so. And I hope that, anyone who's out there following me, and I hope they're enjoying their horses just as much as I am. And do shoot me a message. If you're training a horse and you're struggling with things, shoot me a message. I can take weeks to reply. I can be really, really awful, but I do reply, and I will help with any training things.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I know how much.
Oh, I have one more thing.
Yes.
Can I tell people to keep an eye on my social media pages for my documentary, which is coming out very soon?
Yes. No, I've put what's coming up, and I've put that in a different part of my notes. So yes, tell us all about that. Sorry, I've missed that.
It's don't worry, I forgot as well, and I should really be the one on with that. It is it's just over an hour long. At the moment it's an hour and 10. We're just in the final edit, and what it is it's taking you on a journey through sort of my philosophies on liberty training, and sort of a bit about my business here at the yard. And then I'm going to genuinely show you as much as I can within the hour of how to start a young liberty horse, and then the basic liberty commands that we use, how that transitions to riding bareback and bridleless, and then how that eventually transitions to how we work with pairs and a team. So there's so much information in there. I got told off twice by the producers when I was making it, giving away too much information.
So where are we going to, you're going to promote that on your social media, obviously?
That is going to be that'll be all over my social media. That's going to be with my amazing friends from Organised Equestrian. They're the ones who backed me and who are believing in me to do this. So keep your eyes out. That'll be out within the next week, hopefully.
Oh wow, okay, so this podcast will be in a few weeks' time, so it'll already be out, so go and look at it.
It'll be out. It'll be out. Come and watch it. Yeah,
I will make sure I find the link, and I'll put it in the show notes as well, so people can go and find out more about that from there as well.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for joining me. I've loved our chat, and I cannot wait to see your documentary either. That sounds amazing.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I absolutely loved it.